Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Talk Show, the Forum English Edition. I'm Javed, Jadoon, your host. Today we will be discussing the current political landscape, upcoming general elections, and what happens beyond general elections 2024. This is a big question mark. Do the political parties have the right and futuristic manifestos and solution to countries' myriads of challenges, economic, political, social, and otherwise? Because we have seen in the recent past that the Pakistan military leading the way to find ways and means to resolve countries' myriads of challenges, particularly the economic challenges which country was faced with. In today's global order, any country which doesn't have long-lasting solutions, it doesn't have holistic solutions of countries' problems and challenges, then I think that is a huge problem. Pakistan, which has a population of 250 million, and out of these 250 million people living in Pakistan, about 65 to 70% are the young people, the young population. What do they want from the political parties of Pakistan? In thousands, students are coming out of educational institutions, trying to find a path, a career path in Pakistan is extremely difficult right now. Since we know that the private sector, which is not producing so many jobs which could cater the huge number of students coming out of universities, especially the engineering universities, the medical universities, the IT universities, and so on and so forth, even the business schools as well. So what challenges the political parties have? Are the elections 2024 are the only solution which can put the country on the path of socio-political development? Or the challenges need an holistic approach, right manifestos, futuristic manifestos, which can address countries' challenges, which countries faced with today. Maybe we had different challenges, different set of challenges yesterday. We will have a different set of challenges tomorrow as well. But unfortunately, we have seen that the major political parties which took turn while staying in power, including Pakistan Muslim League and Pakistan People's Party and even Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, were they able to offer viable solutions to countries' challenges, socio-economic, political, and many others? And do they understand what kind of a challenges country is faced with? Because it is extremely important that, first of all, you need to know what challenges you are faced with. Then you will try and find out the solutions as well. In today's global scenario, we see the conflicts taking place around. There's a conflict in Ukraine, and there is a war going on in the Middle East. Israeli forces, they have attacked Gaza, and the conflict is feared to be escalating. There is seems to be no end to it as well. Come back to Pakistan. Pakistan is faced with two issues. One is the eastern border, and other is the western border. On the eastern border, we have a country which never recognized Pakistan's existence. They always tried, attempted, strived to undo the making of Pakistan. On the other side, which is the western border, Pakistan is definitely facing a huge problem over there because terrorism emanates from the western border, and especially Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is a terrorist outfit operating in northwest, in KP and in Balochistan as well, and maybe in some parts of Punjab as well. So how to deal with challenges? Here comes the question, the original question which I put at the outset, that do the political parties have the holistic solutions as far as these myriad of challenges are concerned? We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking with an expert, and we'll try and find out and try and understand how can Pakistan find a way out of this quagmire, and how political parties can deliver as far as 250 million people of Pakistan are concerned? Stay with us. FM. Today, the current political landscape, upcoming general elections, and what happens beyond general elections 2024. There's a big question that do the political parties have the right approach, and they have got the right solutions and right manifestos to address a country's myriad of challenges? And these challenges are definitely very gigantic. These include socio-political and economic as well. Because elections itself are not the solutions. Any political party or political alliance which comes into power after February 8 general elections in 2024 will be faced with all these massive challenges. How to bring about the paradigm shift, how to put country's economy on the right track, and how to continue with the reforms agenda which has been set right now vis-a-vis our agreement with the International Monetary Fund as well. How to stabilize Pakistan's rupee, how to enhance our exports, and how to enhance remittances, and how to provide jobs to the young population. As I mentioned at the outset, that Pakistan's 70 to 65 to 70% population is a young population. Do the political parties have answers to the issues and the challenges and the opportunities which are needed by the young population? These are a very complex questions, and we'll try and understand, and we will be talking with our guest, Dr. Khaqan Najeeb. He is very regular to our programs. We will be discussing how can a country be put on the right track after general elections 2024 vis-a-vis these challenges I have talked about. Thank you so much, Dr. Khaqan Sahab, आपने join किया, and please try and make us understand that in your opinion, do you believe that the elections itself are the solution, or the elections 2024 will be the beginning of the changes we are expecting from any political party or political alliance which is going to come into power? Are they equipped with the right knowledge, with the right expertise, and with the right strategies to take up these challenges and address them as well? Dr. Khaqan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Javed sir, I'm happy to note the English edition of your radio channel, and I'm very happy to note that you're now trying to get to a broader audience, and I hope within Pakistan and those listening outside Pakistan as well. So one thing which is very clear is that in Pakistan, it's not ever been democracy which people have doubted. What people have really doubted is the economic, social, and political governance that comes after we get into a democratic setup. I think that's the first thought that should cross any political leader or any political party's mind, that why is it that the economic governance or the social governance of the country is challenged in the minds of people who are waiting for the next government to take office. Secondly, of course, without elections, there is no legitimacy of government. The democratic values that we hold dear, both in Pakistan and abroad, only come about with a fair and free elections. So that's the second job of the current election commission. And, one is, a bit comforted to listen that some of the main political parties do feel that we are heading in that direction. And then, of course, the peaceful transition of power. But once that happens, then you are faced with a challenge where, of course, there are 20 million people, 20 million children who are out of school. There are 40% children who are stunted in the country, let alone the challenges of the economy. These are two social challenges which in themselves are things that, are uncomfortable to any household in the country. 1/3 of the people are literally living under, $3 a day. Is that a good situation for Pakistan? Certainly not. Can we, think about how to meet those challenges? Well, that remains to be the question in everyone's mind, because we sometimes ignore these people, the people that I've just, talked about to you, with you. If you were to believe this, then your second thought would be, how do you bring about improvement in the lives of these people? The starting point of inclusive growth, you must have heard this word, billion times, but people don't really explain what does inclusive growth mean. To lift people out of poverty, to send children to school, to ensure that, we improve on the human capital indices, we improve on the global hunger index. The only way towards this path, whether you look at China, whether you look at India, whether you look at adjoining countries, is to create a growing economy. Without growth, without enlarging the pie, there is hardly any other way that the humankind have seen where these things have been addressed properly. So the challenge is, can the political parties come with a growth agenda which feeds into Pakistan's agriculture, manufacturing, services sector so that the pie grows? Before we start getting into how we divide that pie, how we do the taxation, how we spend those expenditures, the first and foremost task is that. The second task that the parties have is that how do you maintain comfort on the external sector of Pakistan staying within an IMF program. Now, our record of doing an IMF program is pretty poor. 23rd program is the current one that we are doing. 21 programs Pakistan has been unable to do. We get into a program, we do the initial reforms, but when it comes to growth enhancing, taxation, energy sector, social sector, when we get into the depth of structural work, we shy away. So that's been our record. Pakistan will get another program or will have to get another program. So these are the two major aspects, if you were to ask me how the political parties should be thinking about and behaving, or can they put their act together to come up with plans where we can address these two big challenges of Pakistan.
Yes, but Dr. Khaqan, you very elaborately pointed out some very important challenges which the upcoming democratically elected government will be facing. Now the question, as far as the people of Pakistan are concerned, they are looking towards the political system which is going to take comes into effect after 8th of February 2024. Now the challenges are so huge, so gigantic, that even all political parties put together do not have the answers to these problems. This is what it seems to be the case. The 16 months of coalition government, we have seen how Pakistan's economy went down, how we saw the kind of a decline in remittances, in exports, and so on and so forth. Now, there's a huge question which is being asked by the intellectuals and academia and the members of the civil society, that what happens beyond 2024 after the elections, after the new government comes into power. You pointed out about the challenges. The two main, I totally agree with you, the stunting and the out of school children as well. But Dr. Khaqan, please educate us about, given the past, given the history of these political parties when they came into power and they were not able to deliver, the cosmetic changes which were brought about were not enough to bring about a paradigm shift in economy and socio-political landscape as well. Now, what is so different this time around that we can expect? We don't know which party or which alliance is going to come into power, but do you believe that they are now are they worried about it? Do they know that these are the challenges? Do they know that they have to find out-of-box solutions? Or it will be business as usual as what it was in the past?
So here's my thinking on how the next year at least will play out. I think there are three instruments that are running the way Pakistan economy is running. Mm-hmm. I don't think there will be much change in the next year.
Okay.
Number one, Pakistan is in a current IMF program. It will probably glide into another one. So there will be adjustments, as you have seen in the current program, pricing adjustments, fiscal, meaning budgetary and expenditure adjustments, adjustments of the exchange rate regime, how that would work, and so on and so forth. Number two, there is an administrative kind of a push which will continue, I think, in the next coming years, which is to control very clearly smuggling, hoarding, de-dollarization, and Afghan transit trade. Okay. So there are four very, very clear signals that the establishment has given. I think they have taken this task upon themselves and partly delivered as much as it could have been delivered, because you can see on all the issues there has been some movement. On the Afghan transit trade, beyond the Afghan transit trade, sending back the people, whether they are Afghanis or Koreans or Thais or Canadian citizens, back to their homes if they don't have the valid documents in Pakistan. So that's the second tier. I think the third tier is where the new parties, and if it's PDM, they've already agreed with that tier, they would glide in and take the country forward, is under the umbrella of SIFC and the new cabinet that comes in. That would be the third tier. What I see happening there is that we will try and kind of take a whole of government approach, which means that we will try and coordinate with the provinces and at the district level and ensure that things that don't get done due to the inertia in the country, and let's try and see what those things are. For example, privatization stalled for the last 10, 15 years, right? So we make a push on PIA, we make a push on HBFC, we make a push on some of the energy units in coming years. Again, the new cabinet synchronized with the working of the SIFC. So we see, this kind of things to push forward. Then what we see is that the local things that are not happening, let's say the 5G doesn't move quickly because, the inertia in the system is not letting you move on that. So you push the 5G spectrum. I'm putting that as an example, Javed. What one is trying to say is that there is system inertia in anything. You push that forward. Let's say, you wanted a visa policy to improve. So, the cabinet and the SIFC put together, and since the SIFC has 3 committees and has an implementation framework as well, so they try and push that. Within that framework, Pakistan, the first year continues with the IMF on the debt instruments, but this third tier of governance tries to push for an investment framework as well. Now, of course, the targets are big, but I always say that, let's move year on year, whereas Middle Eastern investment or CPEC 2 are both there. So let's see what kind of interest, maybe a Recordec deal would put Pakistan on the map. But the new government plays within this kind of sphere, kind of pushes with this, and we move to a target to do that. Now, the new government, I think, will create a fourth tier, and the fourth tier would be that they would like to do things for the people. And in that, you will see development funds going to the people. You would see, again, new loaning kind of occurring. And so, they'd like to flex their muscle there. But hopefully, they will be more sensible this time and flex the muscle in improving Pakistan's, long-term structural productivity improvement. When I say that, I mean, can they, really put Pakistan's agriculture on the right path? Can they get the private sector to be the real engine of growth? Can they deregulate Pakistan? Can they liberalize Pakistan? Here's the real test, because the first three are already in the offing, but the fourth, the structural part, remains missing. If we can do some work on the fourth one in the coming 5 years, then maybe the movement of Pakistan would be more improved, considering that these three tiers are already in operation. Then Pakistan can see some, new jobs being created, some new money being created, some wealth creation taking place in Pakistan, and really believe in this time, that wealth creation is a good thing to do. People setting up new channels, new sewing machines, production, and selling to the world is a good thing to happen. Now, this fourth tier is the one which keeps missing. Can we do the fourth tier? In my mind, would require, again, I always say there have been few good men in all these countries. General Park in South Korea, he used to call the exporters and tell them, either you export this much or I will take over your industry. Okay. That's how he actually ran, South Korea to be from 1960s onwards, where it changed its complexion. Then you have Mr. Manmohan Singh in India. You cannot take this away that if in 1991 he hadn't created the fourth pillar that I've just talked to you, India would not be the India that you see today. Right. It would not be growing at this rate. Right. Then, so you can, and similarly, you go to Singapore, you can see Lee Kuan Yew doing the same thing. It's the fourth tier that which none of the leaderships in Pakistan have been able to recognize. Actually, it's not that they have to implement it. They have actually completely missed on this story, that there is a productivity shift, there is a shift of technology, there is a shift of growing the economy that needs to be done. That seems to be a completely missing tier. Now we have to convince all the people in this, the judiciary, the technocracy, the civil bureaucracy, the military bureaucracy, and in the end, the politicians have to take the lead.
And even the media of Pakistan as well.
Very correctly. They are also still, they can't absolve themselves of the fact that this guy is corrupt, this guy is not paying enough tax. And I agree that these things are there. But the overarching productivity framework, efficiency framework, starting from a human level and building all the way to a steel industry in Pakistan, we are very, very non-productive in the way we do our life, in the way we do our business, in the way we do our agriculture, in the way we use water, in the way we use gas, in the inefficiency on the electricity side. This is the tier, Javed Saab, that is missing in Pakistan. If we can do some good work on this fourth tier, the other three tiers are largely falling into place.
Dr. Khaqan, you mentioned quite a few selective examples as far as the region is concerned, but even beyond that, if you look at many other countries, the ASEAN nations, and even we look at very smaller countries around us, they have catapulted into very vibrant economies, while Pakistan, which used to be one of the fastest growing economies in the region, has taken a very, very serious hit. And now, as you mentioned, so many challenges. My worry is that if there is no political stability in Pakistan, even beyond 2024, all the targets you were talking about would be very, very hard to achieve, because in the absence of political stability, economic stability will definitely remain a mirage. Do you agree with that?
So, I mean, you're right. You can add, for example, we can talk about Suharto in Indonesia. He used to say that development is a fierce struggle. And he used to say that I think about it all the time. You know, even in my leisure time, I think about it. So that's the kind of mindset that we need to change. Look, in Asia's success, there have been technocrats, bureaucrats, politicians, generals, dictators, democrats. Everyone's tried to pull in the same direction. They were united by a common objective. And that common objective very clearly always was that development is primacy. There is economic security, economic development takes primacy over all our other endeavors. I think that is the kind of new narrative, that's the new ideology that has to be set by the new political party that comes in. You know, these things to talk about at a, micro level, that we'll do this. First, you have to really believe that the development paradigm, the growth paradigm takes precedence over all other paradigms in the country. Even you all have to pull in one direction, and at times maybe ignore, bypass, do surgery somewhere, and recognize that in one generation, the poor of Vietnam, China, Indonesia, East Asia in general have been catapulted to a different stage of life.
Right.
And that, for the next 30 years, should be the defining objective of Pakistan.
Dr. Khaqan, let's talk about the youth bulge as well. Pakistan is a young country, 65% than 30 years of age. I think it seems to be a ticking bomb as well. Will it figure among the top agenda items in the whenever the next government comes into power and takes the reins? You believe that this ought to be one of the most important agenda items as well?
So first of all, everyone's got to realize, right, 64% of the Pakistan population is youth. So now you have to actually sit down on the table and see that what are the ways that you will give them one thing, and that is opportunity within the country.
Okay.
Otherwise, 1 million people have left Pakistan. Yes, they will send a lot of remittance to you, but Pakistan's brain drain is paramount importance to us.
Right.
And there is emerging evidence as people start working on these areas that there is a sort of brain drain impact that is starting to emerge in different places, where people have come up in industries and are now saying that they are finding it hard to find people in Pakistan who are qualified accountants or qualified engineers. Now, that's not a good story to write for Pakistan. Because you got to remember, there is only 6% of this youth who go to higher education. So a large portion of the 6% leaves Pakistan is going to be, creating difficulty. So first of all, you have to start thinking about it. Now, if you start thinking about it this way, it would worry you that here are my children who are stunted, so my pool is already small. Within that small pool, many of them go abroad, which are only 6% in any case who have gone to a higher education. Now, that is a difficult scenario, and this is reality of Pakistan. So if you want to solve this issue, you have to involve them in mainstream areas where they think that Pakistan has a future, holding Pakistan currency has a future, holding a job in Pakistan can create savings, build you a small house, and they can, be contributors. That alone will come, the best way to create employment in a country for these people is through manufacturing sector and nothing else.
Absolutely.
The high wage employment only comes through industrial growth, whether that's in tech, whether that's in manufacturing any other item, and Pakistan's deindustrialization. Now, what does one mean by that? That's another challenge. Pakistan, going back, a decade or two, used to have 18% of their GDP, which used to come from the industrial sector, from the manufacturing sector. Today, that has fallen to about 12.4%. You can understand that there are lesser jobs.
True.
Because your industry has shrunk in the country, because you have created a non-productive, non-tradable sector called the real estate, incentivized it, the gold incentivized it without asking questions, and then the dollarization of the economy. So all these things will need to get reversed, de-incentivized. These sectors, incentivize the manufacturing sector, go to the small people, give them loans instead of creating a top tier of loans where you only target the big boys. Go to the 5.2 million small and medium enterprises, the home run businesses who only have very little access to finance. So now you start thinking very differently, right? You start thinking about employment, you start thinking about small businesses, you start thinking about mainstreaming the youth. Now, when you start thinking like that, Pakistan starts, giving a very different picture than only the textiles, the car production. Even car production shouldn't be done in Pakistan. Pakistan imports everything, puts together a car and sells in Pakistan. I mean, that's not a thing to maybe even do. We haven't, sold a single vehicle abroad. We haven't sold a single light abroad because our quality standards don't match anyone. We haven't done the deletion program right. Whenever there is a import slowdown, we have to slow down the import. The car industry comes to a halt. So, you have to really... Now, this is the fourth year that I started my chat with. The fourth year of productivity, of involving efficiencies, bringing in the smart boys and girls, the younger ones, to do something in the country, again, by improving the private sector investment in the country, by moving into the productive sectors in the country.
Dr. Khaqan, you raised some very pertinent and very important questions. I totally agree with you that such problems need very holistic approach as well. But my problem or my concern right now is that though the manifestos haven't come out, but we would like to see the kind of manifestos which the respective political parties are going to announce, whether they are going to incorporate all these. I mean, they are very visible challenges. They are not hidden from anyone, not from even the common man in Pakistan. They know the kind of challenges we are faced with. They would like to see the solutions because right now, like you are pointing out about so many solutions which can be adopted by political parties in their manifestos, and they can go bit by bit, and then probably we would be able to bring about some change in the society. But my worry and my concern still remains that the political parties, whenever you see the manifestos, not even 10 to 15% is implemented. There lies the main problem, that they know the issues, they know the challenges, but then they start sidetracking after coming into power. The power goes into their heads, and then even the political confrontation and the sidetracking of the major issues becomes a kind of an impediment which we are not able to overcome. And even though it's a secondary question but very important, we will be needing $25 billion to address our foreign debt in the current fiscal year. That is also a very huge challenge. So are you optimistic that this time around, first, the manifestos which are going to be issued by the political parties would be incorporating all these challenges and solutions as well?
So you've raised a number of issues, right? But let's start with the manifestos. I think the part which is missing in the manifestos, if you read the old ones, if you even just glance over them, what you would see is that at the macro level, they may say they want to do a number of things. It is the micro detail which is the, you want to do privatization, set an agenda, what you want to sell, how much of the shares you want to sell,
Absolutely.
Which one do you want to take to the stock exchange, which one do you want to take to the management control.
That is the missing part, yes.
Yeah. It's, Javed sir, life is micro. Reform on the, bigger sphere can give you an inkling that you want to privatize. But, I mean, that's the very, hardly anyone in the country would disagree that you want to privatize. Now, when you say that you want to privatize, so you have to really tell us that which ones would come under the hammer when. Now, that becomes, the very first action. Now, which way would that business be privatized? Whether it would be the sale of assets, sale of shares, public offering, management control, leasing, or any other method. Now, when I go into that micro detail, I think hardly any political party would be able to give you an answer. And that makes me slightly uncomfortable, because if they don't have the depth of this knowledge, then when they come in power, they tend to rely on the existing systems that are in place, which themselves don't have the capability to deal with this depth.
Right.
Now you get into an impasse situation, time passes, and you have the two RLNG plants since 2017 to 2023, 6 years in the offing, no movement. You have a PIA 2013-14, we were talking about selling it. You have a steel mill which was privatized in 2006. Today it is being closed and is going to be sold for scrap. Just look at the seriousness of the issue.
Absolutely.
Give me details on how you're going to do this. Not for my sake, because you want to govern for the next 5 years. Governing becomes an issue when you don't deliver. When you're delivering, governing will be much smooth. Why would it be smooth? Because people will not be able to doubt your capability to deliver on the reforms that you have promised. So the promise is not enough. It's the way that promise is going to be executed has to come through in the manifesto.
Right.
Can the political parties develop this? In the end, HR is policy. Depends what kind of HR they put together. I really hope they can put together the HR which can do the things that we've talked about. It's a heavy agenda. Pakistan, yes, needs $25 billion this year, next year, and the following year. That monies have to be put together. Pakistan's debt has to be handled, both domestic and external. All these things again need a clear timetable, a clear vision, a clear goal setting, and a clear implementation plan through a clear good HR. Now, when you see these things and hear them the way I have put to you, they don't seem that difficult, but they are terribly difficult when I start getting into micro levels with you. You have many countries which you owe the debt to. You have the Paris Club, you have the multilaterals. You have to talk to them separately. You have to speak their language. I don't think Pakistan executive has this kind of capability. If it did, we would not be here.
Dr. Khaqan, you mentioned in your comments about the inertia and the slumber. Totally, because if whichever department or whichever sector of the society you take, you see that there is slumber, there is inertia, there is incompetence, lack of trained and resourceful manpower. I mean, I really get confused that if we continue with the same old structure of governance, here, what you pointed out is so complex, is so paradoxical, that if we continue with the same old mindset, with the same old inertia and slumber, and with the same old system of governance in Pakistan, I'm afraid, Dr. Khaqan Najeeb, it would be extremely difficult to achieve whatever you were pointing out, because with the same set of issues, same set of problems, and the same set of strategies, I don't believe you reach anywhere.
See, people keep saying that Pakistan needs consistency. I keep saying that, no, Pakistan needs the biggest structural change.
Absolutely.
The biggest structural
shift. That is the point. Yes.
That is there. Consistency would mean that you run 212 SOEs within the framework that you're running. But, moving away from this policy means that you start
Consistency could mean incompetence, slumber, inertia.
Yeah. So, you have to really break them. Now, the answer is that have we been able to convince the political parties, the establishment, the military leadership, the civil leadership, the technocracy, have we been able to convince these people that this is so? I think in their minds they are convinced, but I sometimes feel that the task is so big, is so huge. Well, my answer to that is put a team together. You'll see that bit by bit, Pakistan will be able to solve every issue. And you will start seeing vicious cycle fade away, even if you don't get into a virtuous cycle. Right now, the vicious cycle is on top of people's minds, so it's not fading away. Even with slight recovery, people still remain skeptical. But once you start showing them steps bit by bit that they are delivering, and you have to start thinking beyond the people around you. Javed sir, I have always hired in the government, I hired more than 10 to 15 people. None of those people were ever known to me. I headhunted them, I went to them, I begged them, I coerced them to come and work with us. Now, those are the people that you want in the government, not the ones who are, sitting on the fence wanting to jump ship. You want those people. This is what I keep saying. Top tiers need headhunting. They are not going to come through an advertisement. You need to approach these people. Get those 5-6 people. Get a critical mass together. And none of them should come from the bureaucracy. That's number one thing. None of them should come from the setups which have not delivered. They should all be fresh people which come with fresh ideas and have this kind of knowledge that I've just put to you. And that's really HR is policy. We started with a few good men and women story that I put to you of all the countries that have transformed. People keep saying South Korea took our plan. I don't think that really happened. I think they did take our plan. It may be so, but it was General Park who thought very, very differently. He really thought that without exports, I am not going to survive this country. And if he was threatening people with the fact that he would take over their industry, you can see the seriousness that he had. He used to say that my duty is not national defense only. My duty is much beyond national defense because the country is on the verge of ruin. I think these were his exact words, if I can remember correctly. Yes. Now, that's the mindset we need in the future.
Dr. Khaqan, we'll have to leave it there since we are running short of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Listeners, we are coming to the end of our program. Inshallah, tomorrow we will be with you with the Urdu version of the forum. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.
अब वक्त है एक छोटी सी ब्रेक